as long as we're talking about drugs, related drug note, there's an infographic which each one I try and check out. I'm looking at The Guardian right now. I think because it's so popular, they're having trouble keeping this new interactive data map of the world's drug usage up online. So it's not exactly live, but you can check it out. And I was surprised to even just quickly glance and see that Italy and New Zealand beat the U.S. in cannabis usage. But you can basically look at an interactive map of cannabis, cocaine, ecstasy, amphetamine.
The U.S. isn't even first in that anymore?
No. God,
you guys aren't first in anything anymore.
James, before we take the break and before we go through the skinny binge and purge, another note from naturalnews.com. And again, we're living in the future, but what kind of future is it going to be? U.S. researchers create 30 genetically modified human babies. U.S. fertility researchers from the Institute for Reproductive Medicine and Science of St. Barnabas in New Jersey have created 30 healthy babies who have been genetically altered. And you can link right to oxfordjournals.org for more. It's been confirmed that 2 of these children have the DNA of 3 parents. The babies were created when women were treated for infertility by Professor Jacques Cohen and his team. Their eggs had defects in tiny structures, and it goes on to just discuss exactly what has been done here. The interesting part about the post, I think, for me, is all the other related videos and information that my man Adam in Nova Scotia, helping out on Food World Order, has posted along the age of transitions, James, and designer babies and genetic modification.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, I hope people do explore that, because The Age of Transitions, of course, by our old friend Aaron Franz, extremely important documentary, and all of the ways that I hope that listeners to this program understand this is leading, because it isn't just about what was being done specifically in this particular case, but it's the idea of starting to go down that path of altering babies genetically so that we start to open up all sorts of possibilities that have hitherto only been science fiction nightmares. But I think we all understand how this can be going down a very, very bad path indeed.
Like Gattaca.
Like Gattaca, good point. All right, coming up against another break, but we'll be back with the Binge and Purge and James Evan Pilato, foodworldorder.com, right after these messages. All right, welcome back, friends. We are here on Corbett Report Radio going over the Food World Order. Once again, all of these stories are available from foodworldorder.com, which is one of the many websites of our guest, James Evan Pilato, who is also, of course, running the New World Next Week at newworldnextweek.com, cyberspacewar.com, mediamonarchy.com, etc. So I hope people will check out all of that family, the kingdom of websites there. And there was a caller who called in to ask whether James is also living in Japan, and let's clarify, I am James Corbett, I'm living in Japan. James Evan Pilato is living in Portland, Oregon. So different sides of the Pacific, different sides of the big pond, I guess.
James, we now reach, as we do always in these second segments of these updates and episodes, if you will, we do what we call the Binge and Purge. And again, for folks, that's just where I post the collected headlines through the week that didn't make their own individual post on the website. This week is much, much shorter than weeks in the past. James, I think no other reason than for sometimes you collect a lot of news, and then other times you just have to do a smaller amount. And of course, it is now, it's officially summer in America, and you can just see the kind of general traffic on the web kind of go down. And actually, myself, James, I'll be out of town next week. I should tell you.
So you will not be on the program. Okay. Good to know.
Make that note. But the Binge and Purge this week is a short one. I call it Celebrity, Security, Scandal, and More, and starts out with a great video, which I'm surprised has not made bigger rounds. And it's actor Rob Schneider, who you may know from Saturday Night Live and Goofy comedy.
And every Adam Sandler movie ever.
Exactly. But he's talking about vaccines and corporate greed and basically saying, you know, I'm against government coercion. I'm for parental rights. And you can see him start to talk about, you know, I found out, you know, the states, you know, sterilized people. And you can see that now he's he's gotten turned on to what is going on, and you can see that he's done his research and knows what he's talking about. It's always, of course, a little lamentable that it always feels like the people who do speak out against the New World Order are the kind of nutty, strange folks.
People who have already been demonized and have put their own foot in their mouth enough times that, maybe their speaking out will actually feed into the system instead of going against it. But absolutely hats off to anyone who is speaking out against this and putting facts into the debate. And people who haven't seen that video, people who don't even want to see that video because it's Rob Schneider, I still suggest you go and watch it because he does make some good points. And I think he's exactly right on this point anyway. It's a question of health freedom. And even if you do love the vaccines and worship everything that comes out of Big Pharma's posterior, you still have to at least advocate for the freedom of people to do what they want with their bodies.
I think that can relate back to, James, your larger thesis of this episode about freedom at large. Some of the other bits on this Binge and Purge quickly, James, a couple of wrap-ups on, of course, Obamacare and some interesting quotes from food industry, execs and folks reacting to the Obamacare decision. GMO food labels are costly and unnecessary, says this op-ed that comes from the Star Tribune. Unauthorized stroll past lax security at CDC Bioterror Lab in Georgia, Monsanto, taco copters, and a little bit of satire, James. All that and so much more on foodworldorder.com.
All right, I hope people are checking it out, and I'm assuming the radio show will be on as normal tomorrow?
Absolutely.
Tell people again how they can listen in.
They can listen live on Revere Radio, and it's MediaMonarchy.com. It's 10 a.m. Pacific time.
That's right. Well, I hope everyone will tune in for that. So, James, thanks again for your time.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
No problem. And thank you to all of you out there for listening in. Once again, I'm James Corbett of CorbettReport.com. I suggest you check out my website if you haven't yet done so. And until tomorrow night, that's it for me. So thank you for listening and take care.